Hello everybody and welcome you all. So we're going to talk about something very interesting topic of the day, and that is known called hooks in React. See friends, actually what happens when we work on React based development. So in React 16.8 we have introduced a new feature called React hooks. These hooks have really changed the way how the React development really happens, because prior to these React hooks we were writing so much of code. Because of that, it actually increased the complexity into our program. But ever since the React hooks came into this picture, the development time has slowed down, okay, and we have actually increased the productivity of our development. Now, how the React hook really changes the way, this we're gonna see it now in those slides. Now, what are the React hooks? See, the React hook is a special feature that lets you hook intro. Now, what is this? See, they say few important things. They say normally hook allows you to reuse the stateful logic without changing your component hierarchy. Your application can actually divide it into the smaller pieces which later on can be used together. Okay, so hooks let you use most of the React features without using classes. See, actually what happens in React, we have a two type of ways how you write your components. Number one is called class-based component, and second which is called functional component. Now, class-based components are little more heavy lifting because it comes preloaded with state management as well as the lifecycle management. But not always you need these two. So you need to keep your components lightweighted. So if you want to keep your components lightweighted, so you need to basically approach towards a stateless or functional component. So by adding those hooks features, so you can have this normal functional components. On the top of that, you'll be having some add-on feature. That's the beauty of React hooks. Now, the rules of React hooks. So there are few rules of the React hooks which you need to understand, and what those are. Number one, they say only call hooks at the top level. Don't look hooks inside loops, conditions or nested function. So there are certain conditions. They say only call hooks from the React functional component. Don't call hooks from the regular JavaScript function. Instead, you can call hook from the React function component or call hooks from the custom hooks. So there are multiple options are available which you can expose or use in your regular React based applications. Okay, so after that we will see the demo how the three different type of hooks are used: state hooks, event hooks and create customized hook, and we will see some demo on the top of that. Hello everybody, so once again we are going to start working with another type of hook. See, in our previous examples we have seen how you can have the state related hook. Now my next event will be all about how you can have the event based hooks. We're talking about something called use effects. So how the use effects really works, let's take a look now. So here in a similar example, if I just give the name call, okay, let's try to make it here only. So what I'm trying to do now is, in my current application I'm already having this count and set count to me, but I can also provide some default values that anyways has been provided. So rather than hard coding it, I can provide it from somewhere else. So how we can, so let's use one property called props here, and here rather than providing this I'm saying props.count. So my question is like, what do you mean by count here? See, count is nothing but a property which initial value I don't know, so which you can set it from outside. So what you can do is here, before you export it, you can say give the name called hooks10.default props, default props, okay, equal to, I'm starting with the curly braces, and after this curly braces we are saying count, okay, that value is what, 0. What initial value we are giving? Count initial value equal to what, 0 now, and post this value whichever we are giving it. So what we also do in the same line is here we would like to also perform the another actions for setting the state. Initial value is called count, and this way I can say set count plus 1. Okay, that is anyways fine. So increment, let me copy this. So here let me say npm space start. So I must see some values have been presented. Okay, you can see still initial value was 0. That's why if you see initial value was 0. So now because of getting the initial value called props.count, and now I can say increment. When I want to talk about decrement, so decrement, and here we say reset. So here we can say -1, and this value, rather than saying count plus 1, okay, you can say props.count, means whatever the initial value would be, that value will be initialized here. So now the code will work just the way it is. Now you can say increment, decrement, reset. So it's working fine. So in our React hooks, there's one option which is available called lifecycle hooks. Lifecycle hooks are very, very important. That means you're trying to say whenever you would like to call anything related to your lifecycle, like when your component starts, you would like to launch something. When the component, update, you want to launch something. So these kind of activities you can certainly make it. So how are you going to be making it now? Let's take a look now. So initially what I'm doing is I'm just creating a new function called use. You can say it as a predefined, okay, available from React 16. So here onwards you can see it is coming from the same property from React, and under this use effect what I will do is I will just say log, and I'm saying called every time. Now if I just launch my application and see the inspect, you can see it is saying called every time. Even if I say increment, it is getting called, even decrement, it is getting called, and reset, it will get called, because this is a lifecycle method, and the lifecycle method means it will get called. Normally in a React we have a call component did mount and component did update, so it is a combo of both. Okay, however, you can stick this particular use effect to the specific need only. Like if you do not want this to be get called on updates only when the component launches, so what you can do here in its comma parameter, you can make it as a square bracket. This square bracket will contain those values which you would like to watch for those changes. So if you do not keep it anything, by default it will be what? Blank. So now if I just go ahead and start, it is saying called every time, and now you can say it is not getting called at all, because now it is knowing that hey, it is a blank value, so I'm not seeing any value, so it needs to be get called only when it is launching, not every time. However, you also can offer the condition where you want to call this use effect only when the changes happens, not every time when it is loading. So what you can do, you can just call this again and paste it again, this use effect, and say called on update, and here you can provide the value which you would like to listen. So actually if I see the state is getting changed for this count, so I can say count, and now once it is ready I can start my application, and you can say here increment. Now you can see it is getting called, okay, but it is not getting called on loading every time. So you are specifically telling like this use effect should get called only when state changes to the count, and this you are not listening to anything, so you are making it as a blank. I hope you're clear about what use effect is all about. Okay everyone, so the previous example we have seen like how this hooks with regards to your current application works. Like as I'm saying, we're talking about like in this state hook, where we have seen use effect. We have also seen another feature that is known as called use state. And now we're going to be talking about our next. Okay everyone, so now we're continuing to our next feature here, and that is known as called use context. See, when we talk about React use context, we always have a one very special feature coming up with us where the reusability comes as a priority. Okay, so if you really want to use a reusability, okay, you always think about the option called use context. Now, first of all, I would like to show you the problem and then we discuss about the solution. So now here, I'm gonna say use context.js, and in this use context.js, what I'll be doing it, I'll be creating some few functions here. I'm saying function main app. Okay, so in this main app I can create const, I can say user set user equal to use state and initialize the value which call what, admin. That is the initial value we are saying, like in main app user set user use state admin. And now after this I'm using return, and in this return with my div tag I would like to offer the message. Okay, so we are giving the name called h2, and within this h2 we are using this a value called welcome, and with this $sign we can give the value like a user, whichever the initial value will be, that will be represented here. So that's what my first component. Likewise, if I want to share the data to the other components, how I basically try to use, that's an important thing I would like to consider it now. So this is my first component. Like, I also want to create another component which is accepting the data and utilizing its own way. Okay, so like this I can copy and say user2. With this function I'm creating this user2 now. In this user2 I will not be defining any state as of now because it is there already defined. Okay, so in this it will be expecting, here it will be expecting user as in parameter. Okay, so return, you can define it anything. I can say paragraph. In this I can say user2 component. Okay, and I'm saying component 2, and now I would like to pass this value further to the another component now. So what I'm trying to say now here, if I say user2, let me copy this, the whole bunch, and paste it below here, and I'm saying user3, which is also taking this data, and here I'm defining this value called user3, okay, space user equal to user, like this we are providing it. Okay, so that's where I'm trying to use this functionality. So we are having this function user2. Okay, so after this we are taking function 3 and adding the data right over there. Okay, so this div tag, whichever you're taking it, so we have a call main app, we can say user2 and followed by user3. So the data we can keep on passing from one component to the another component. So we have got this component with me, user2, and at the same time we have a call user3 now. Okay, and this user2, whichever is available to me, okay, when we are saying hello user, this user2, I can provide this data right over here. Okay, so in my main application I can say user2, okay, and with this we can provide the value called user equal to, once again, user. like this. So you can see here we are passing the data down the line to all my components whichever we are utilizing it. Okay, so that's fine. So after this, what you'll be doing, because we are passing the data just like that, but the only thing is, what if this main app wants to pass the data directly to the user 3? It cannot pass. Okay, it can pass the data to the user 3 only from its immediate child, which is the user 2, and that's what the problem. I would like to sort it out, but here let me say export default, the name is called main app. Okay, let's make initial capital, that is always good. Okay, export default main app, and let's add this main app right inside your app.js. Okay, now let's see. See, the value is coming up. Welcome admin, welcome admin, welcome admin. So that's pretty fine. Components are basically rendered, but there is no reusability. If you see, like, it is a plain old technique. You pass the data to the child and you cannot pass the child to the grandchild. These are the certain challenges. Okay, so let's try to sort it out, this issue. Okay everybody, so it's time to basically talk about a solution. We have already seen our problem. There's no reusability, there's no sharing of the data. And the sharing of the data is happening from parent to child only when you are a direct parent, otherwise not. So how are you going to be fixing this issue? So fix this, what I'll be doing is, we'll just want to say const app context equal to create context. Okay, so we're going to say equal to what? A create context. So as usual, the states are there. Return. Now in this return, what I will be doing it, I will be using this context. So anyways, I'm having this div tag, so I'll be using this option like in user context, or the context which we have created, that is called app context. So we are saying what? App context here. Okay, dot, you see there's an option available called provider. This is the one which will be helping you to share the data to all the components. Value equal to user. Okay, and this app context, I would like to cut it, okay, and paste it after here. Okay, and here user2 equal to user2, whatever it is, the value is there, so you are passing it to user2. Okay, and later on you can pass to any components, those who want to really use it. Okay, so whosoever wants to access your context, it can be easily available. Okay, so you really don't need to pass this data again and again. So if you are in second component, okay, so you're anyways wrap this second component right over here. So here in your second component, you really don't need this any data like this, and you really don't need this like that. So you can easily pass this value to the user 3 also. Okay, so it's very simple and straightforward. So let me try to remove this value from here also, and you can get the data the way you always want. Okay, so you're saying value equal to what? User here. So after that you're saying user equal to what? User, whichever value you are basically passing it. Okay, and say use context dot provider. Okay, and the second component, when you say user2, you just say you really don't need this. In fact, I would say you can even remove it. Okay, and the same you can remove it from here also. Okay, and when I see my components back, see, it's still working like the way it is expected. Okay, so that becomes the idea of what your use context, okay, which is designed for sharing the data between and among the components. Okay everyone, so now it's time to basically discuss about our another very important topic, that is called useref. Okay, useref is basically what? The useref, you can say it is the kind of hook which allows you to persist value between the renders. Again, I'm telling you, useref allows actually to persist the value between renders. Normally, you can store or you can use to store mutable values which are changeable. Okay, that does not cause a re-render when updated. Okay, that means you can persist that value in its storage, okay, as a mutable value which does not cause a re-render when the updates actually happens. So normally it can be used to access your DOM element directly. Clear? So how it can be? Let's take a look with using one simple example so you all can understand how we can utilize this. Okay, so I'm going to create another one here, name called useref.js. Inside this useref.js, so let's get started with this implementations, the one which we're looking at it now, so called useref. So once again, I'm creating a function app, and inside this I would like to say const input val comma set input val equal to user state. Okay, we want to use it. Now we want to use one more, const prev value, okay, equal to, now we would like to say use ref. You can see it is coming once again from the where, from the React here. In this use ref we can pass initial value blank. We do not have initial value, so that we are sending it as a what, as a blank. Now post that we want to create, first important thing is we would like to use the use effect first. Use effect, you have already seen the use effect earlier because it is holding the lifecycle related conditions. So now here we are saying prev value, okay, dot current equal to input val, okay, and after that which value you are seeing to be get updated, so we are passing input val for sure. Okay, post that once it is ready, okay, I'll be saying return. Okay, inside this return I'm having div tag, and here in this div tag we can say input type equal to text, okay, value equal to which value would like to take it, so we are giving input val, okay, and we are also saying on change equal to, taking this e as an event object here, and we are calling set input val with e dot target dot value. Okay, so we are holding the values just like this. Okay, and after this, once it is ready, I just want to use the h3 tag to show what is the current value. So we can say updated value. Okay, here I'm having this input value with me, and now I'll be using one more h2. We are saying last value of, we are saying prev value, okay, dot current. So that's where you are basically using. So This will be offering you what the kind of value you are actually expecting into your program. Okay, so use ref hooks can be used to keep track of the previous state values. This is what we're doing it now. Okay, so this is because we are able to persist use reference value between the renderer. So now let me try to say export default, and I'm just giving the name of app, and this app I'm using it here in my app.js app. Let me terminate it and launch it again. Let's say localhost 3000 again. So it is taking some more time, but I'm sure we'll be able to see the outcome soon into our system. So now you can see these values are coming up. So now when I pass the value call 1, it is containing the 1. When I say 2, you can see it is holding the previous value. When I say 3, it containing the previous value. When I say 4, it holding the previous value. That's where exactly the beauty of this use ref which you are expecting it from all of you. So everyone, we have already seen like our previous example, like how we can use the use ref in our previous project. Now it's time to talk about our another interesting feature in hooks continuation to this, and that we're talking about called working with a use reducer. So what is a use reducer? See, use reducer is again a hook which is as same as like in use state. Okay, it allows for custom state logic. Unlike the normal state how we maintain using use state, it allows to having some custom logic also. See, if you are finding yourself where we have a called multiple portions of the state that actually depends on the complex logic, use reducer would be very, very beneficial for you because it contains a centralized logic, okay, and can help the users to develop some more fantastic applications. So let's see how we can really do this and how we can utilize that. So in hooks demo, I'm going to create a new file here. I'm going to give the name called node app.js, and in this node app.js I would like to have some initialized state. I won't like to make it available to the user, so let's try to use one very simple logic called const node reducer equal to, here I would like to take the parameter like in state and action. It is just like in normal functionality, we are writing it down, and inside this we would like to use a switch. Here we use a switch and we will judge what type of action client is trying to invoke. Action, this is what kind of condition client is ready to invoke. I'm saying action dot type, okay, and here we use the first option like in case. First condition I'm taking it is called populate nodes, okay, populate underscore nodes, whichever the existing nodes are available, populate it, okay. And here after this we would like to say return dot nodes, okay, or else in a default case we are saying return the default state whichever is available to me. So that's how the condition is. Now going back, I would like to also check what are the type of states are available which I would like to show it back to the client. So we are using this option like it const. Let's create a states first. So we are saying const nodes comma dispatch equal to use reducer, And inside this rule is user, first parameter we are passing is called node reducer, whichever we have taken it as an action here, and comma initial state, which I'm making it as a blank. I do not have any state, so I'm making it as a blank. Again, I'm using this option again, const title set title equal to use state with initial value blank. So that's how we are passing it now. Okay, now the next thing is like I would like to check in my code how to basically display the list of nodes back to my application. Okay, that's what the whole logic I want to write. Okay, so let's check in case if I want to return the bulk of nodes, how will I do this? So here let's try to create the nodes app. So this I would to make it, that was the reducer for us. Now here we're going to create const node app equal to and I'm closing it here. Okay, so we're having these two properties with me, and I can have a number of actions also, but let's talk about return. In this return, we want to display the list of nodes which are available to me. In case if I'm having it, I will display it. So I'm having the div tag. Inside this div tag, I can say h2 nodes. After this nodes dot map. In case if I'm having a array of nodes, map is a predefined function for me. So here we're using what? Node. Okay, so inside this we would like to provide the object where the details will be available to me. Okay, so I can use the div tag where I can have the property with me. So I can use the div. Okay, so I can use key equal to, you can just use the default state which is available called nodes, key equal to what? Nodes, and provide the other details too. Like if you want to iterate it, so you can just provide the data accordingly. Okay, so that's what the whole idea is. And here under this we would like to provide node. Okay, and here if in case if I want to have some data that can be displayed. Okay, so now say export default node app, and this node app I'll be making it as a child of app.js. Okay, so you can see I have got initial data displaying here. So in case if I have few more records, suppose if I say data, okay, so you can basically make this data also available here. So you can see I've got list of records are available to me. Okay, so that's make your development even more easier, and that's the beauty of how the nodes can be used for the further development. Okay, so I hope you're clear about what in case if I want to use this reducer, so how we can further utilize it. So initialize the data with this, but later on if I want to add some actions, I can also add it. Okay, but this is what the initial state which we are using it in case if I want to display the data in my code. Hello everyone. So in the previous sections we have seen like how we will be utilizing our use reducer applications. Now I'm going to tell you about another React very popular tool that is known as called Use Memo, which is once again a very popular tool. So what is a memo? It is again another hook. So use memo hook returns a memorized value, what it was the previous value was. So you can say think of memorization as a caching a value so that it does not need to be recalculated. It already contains the value within that. So use memo hook only runs when of its dependency update. Okay, so use memo is one of the very popular tool, but it can be little expensive, resource insensitive function. Okay, so it is use memo can be used to keep expensive and resource oriented function to avoid needlessly running. So we will see how this use memo can work. So let's check this out and see what my intention is in my application is like use memo is basically perform some actually it memorized your complex calculations so that it doesn't need to run unnecessarily every time. Okay, so it does a kind of caching behavior for you to make your life even more simple. So let's see how it works. So accordingly you will also get the implementations. Okay, so you need to understand the use memo hook accepts the second parameter, okay, to declare dependencies. So the expensive function will only run when this dependency has been changed, otherwise not. Okay, so let's see how we will be using those. So now here I'm creating a new file and give the name call. Memo app.js. Okay, so inside your memo app.js, what you do is just take a look. Let me try to close rest of those. Yeah, so here we say okay, so we are saying set count equal to user state initialize value with what I would say 0 for a time being I'm trying to use now. Okay, and after that if I want to perform some calculations I can do that, but let me try to perform this job only. Okay, count and set count according to my rule. Okay, now what I'm planning to do now is in a similar line I want to offer one more feature here called const to do's equal to use state. I'm making it as a what type? Array type. Okay, and I'm saying const calculation equal to expensive calculation, and here we are passing what count as a parameter here. Okay, now let's perform some functions. I'm saying const increment equal to set count C plus 1. Okay, and we are using we're calling this set to do's here. Okay, and use all the previous states whichever are available and new data. This will get added. So 3 functions we are basically calling. After that I'm saying return In this return, I'm having what? Div tag. Within this div tag, I can use another div tag here, and here we're using my app. After this h2, we would like to use todos.map slash what? Index, and here we're saying return paragraph, key equal to add task. Okay, and here we are equal to what? Index here, and here to dos. Okay, to do you make it. Okay, so this is how we have it now. After this, we would like to create a one button. Inside this button, I can say add to do, and here we will say on click, and in on click we will be calling add task. So this is what it is happening now. Okay, everybody. So here after this, div tag is getting closed. HR is getting closed. Again, we are opening up another div tag here, and here we are saying count, and here we are using, in this button we would like to click on plus, increment, what we're calling it here, increment here, and call something called calculation, just like a normal message, and here put what? Calculation. Okay, so once it is done, so your div tag is also closed, both the div tags are getting closed. Okay, and they're also getting closed, and now we would like to perform one function, whichever I would like to use it for my standard calculation. Okay, so let's see what we are trying to do. So here I'm saying long running calculation equal to, okay, and we are using this log button. Inside this log button I'm saying calculating here, and post this with things called for let I equal to 0, I is less than, okay, and we're using what? I plus plus, and say num equal to 1. Okay, and after this I can say return now, and after that I'll be rendering this function by saying export default memo app. That's it. Okay, so this would be my application here. Okay, so now here in this example the expensive function which is called long running function. Okay, whatever I'm talking about, the long running function, okay, will only run when the count is changed and not when the to-dos are added. That's a whole picture about this code here. Okay, so you can just see here we're using this statement, and here we're gonna give the name of this long running calculations to here. Okay, so I'm calling it there. Now this memo app, I'll be using it in my app.js. Okay, so that is what we have it now. So I'm clearly saying like here, so in this application, hook accepts second parameter to declare a dependency. So the long running functions will only run when the dependency have changed, otherwise not. That's the whole picture. So it is adding it, saying calculating it, and then it is getting changed. Okay, so that's what the whole picture of what we have done. So I'm sure like you all are clear about how this memo is really performing some job, the one which is actually expected. And once again, we're going to start with another feature of hooks, as we have got many hooks seen in our development. Okay, and now on the top of this, I'll be working on our new concept, that is what's called use imperative handler. It is again a new concept, as we have already seen multiple different type of hooks into our development. Now we'll be talking about use imperative handler. Now, what is the use of this particular hook? Look, when we talk about use imperative handler, if I just get you this, so if I say use now, when we talk about use imperative handler, okay, so this use imperative handler and the use reference, what we have already done, allows to pass a reference object, but the later, which is called use reference, which you've already seen, this use reference doesn't allow to customize the instance that are also passed with the ref object. So use imperative handler hooks is a different from use reference, because it allows, again, it allows handling and customizing the return value. It allows handling and customizing the return value, and it also allows to replace the native instance of the ref object. Now how it works, let's try to understand in our development. So here we're going to start working with a very simple approach into our code. Okay, so we're going to create a new one that is called imperative demo.js, and after this we are writing function button. Okay, here we are passing two parameters here. One is called props and second is called what? Ref. Two parameters we are passing it. Now here we are saying const use ref. Okay, now after this we are using use. You can see we have a called use imperative handler comes from this one, so we are using this use imperative handler, and here we are passing what? Ref as a parameter. Okay, and okay, now in this case we are using one type of functionality called blur. Okay, and here with this blur, and we are using log and writing custom blur is called. After this, once it is ready, I would like to say return. In this return we are saying button Okay, and with this button I want to use ref, okay, equal to btn and props. We both are passing, and here in this we are saying click. Okay, that's it. And once it is done, then we would like to use this, okay, into my application wherever I can actually access this in my application system. So once it is ready, I would like to make it available. So by using, I'm saying export default, and I'm using something called forward reference. You can see it is again a part of what the React application. We are using this called forward reference, and here we are passing what button. So that is what my code is. Now here I will be making it as a child of, but in my app.js, so we already have this earlier memo app. So here in my application, I'm just using const btn equal to use reference. I'll be using what? Use reference. So React, and I'm using okay, so we're using this option called use reference here, and we're passing null here, and after this value, whichever we are having it, we just say cut and passing it here, and this under this return keyword I'm using button, and in this button, in our options, I can provide the events. So inside this button we would like to, one second, yep, so inside this button we are saying on click equal to, we are saying btn, okay, dot current dot, okay, so we haven't imported anything, so let me import a button from here. Okay, so we say import button. Which class we have created here? Imperative demo. Okay, so once it is there, so we're providing what? btn.current.blur. So closing this here, and along with this we are saying ref equal to btn. That's it. So this is where exactly the options are. So you understand, in this particular example we have developed a custom button component that has a user defined instance attached to the reference object. Attached to the what? The reference object now. So we have developed a button component that has a user defined instance attached to the reference object. So button component is a child component of the app component. Are we clear? So when we click the button here, the button is clicked. Okay, it called user defined blur function, which is attached to the past reference object. Okay, so that's the whole idea. Now so I haven't written anything into the button, that certainly I can add it. So under here okay, so now Okay, so here the things are working the way we were expecting. Okay, so you see, like what we did it here is now we are now using this approach. Okay, you see, like we are using this approach with using this use imperative reference. So we have a call function button. We are passing two parameter props and ref. So we're getting this use reference object, and use imperative we are passing this ref and this object here. So we are using this blur as a kind of custom objects where console.log custom property is getting called, and reference button equal to button, and we're saying dot 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 props, click here button, and export default forward reference button here, and followed by app.js. We are just using this normal app component, const btn equal to use reference null, return, we're returning this button, on click, you see here equal to btn. Okay, it's just a reference what you're using, dot current dot blur, and after that it is getting closed, you're saying ref equal to what, btn, whichever you're referring it, and that's it. So the job is done. So friends, now after this, the previous example we have seen called imperative. Now it's time to basically discuss about another very interesting example that is called use layout effect. There is another hook which is available to you. So this use layout effect actually works similar, okay, to use effect, but rather working asynchronously like what a use effect does, because use effect works asynchronously. It fires synchronously after all DOM loading is done. Again, I'm repeating, the use layout effect works similar to use effect, but rather working asynchronously like how the use effect works. Okay, what it does is it fires synchronously after all DOM is done loading. So this is pretty useful for normally asynchronously re-rendering the DOM. Okay, so it is very useful for synchronously re-rendering the DOM and also to read the layout from the DOM. But to prevent blocking the page loading, we should always use effect hook, otherwise it will block. So the use layout effect, okay, works in the same phase as component did mount and component did update methods. We should only use effect layout effect if use effect is not outputting the expected result. So let's take a look with a simple example, the one which we are looking forward for. Okay, so here in my code, what we're doing is we're going to give the new file name called use .js. Okay, so let me add const layout okay, and here we're using const equal to use state and give any value whichever you would like to give it. Okay, let's say welcome, and after that you come down and say use layout effect, okay, and say if value equal to welcome, I'm saying set value welcome to React hooks. Okay, so that's an expectations, and after that we are using what, the log, and inside this flag we're saying use layout is working, okay, with value. So we're using what, the value here, okay, and whenever the value changes, so we're using and listening to what, the value here, and after this when we talk about return, so we have to return the values too. Okay, so we say return inside this div, we will say value. That's it. And after this, layout. And here, okay. So once it is ready, you will see here in your program. Here we need to check. So if value, okay, fine. So here I need to use to make it. Okay, so now I go to the inspect, go to the console, and let's refresh. And now you can see it is loading synchronously. Okay, so your application is now loading the way it is expected. Use layout is working well, use layout is working, we can do the React. It's perfect. So that's where the idea of this particular example. So in this example, we have built a name changer application that changes the name of the state when the use layout effect is called. Okay, and it's working fine. Okay everyone, so now if it is ready, then we'll be talking about our next feature here, that is called working with use debug value. This is once again another hook of the React based development. So when we talk about use debug value, so what use debug value actually does and what we really do with the use debug value, this we would like to understand. Okay, see what happens, not too many developers nowadays know about use debug value hook. Okay, though although it provides a much better debugging experience when it comes to the debugging custom hooks. So use debug value is a simple inbuilt hook that provides more information about the logical of a custom hook within a React Dev tool. So React Dev tool is a tool which you can get it downloaded for your Chrome extension. Okay, and it allows you to display the additional information, okay, next to your hooks with optional formatting. Okay, so that's what the Redux React use debug value is basically be useful for. Now, how you basically use this? So you can just consider in this way. If I just go back and create a new file and give the name called use debug value. Saying use debug.js. Okay, so inside this use debug.js, here we would like to use function, and in function we can use this option. I can use friend status. Use friend status. So here we can say friend ID, and here we can use const is online set online equal to user state. We are providing the value called what? Okay, and now here we use this option like in what use debug value, and here I told you is online question mark. Here we say online, okay, and here we say what? Okay, and after this we are talking about this option that return is online. Okay, so that's where exactly you perform this condition for. After that, what you can do, you can just use this option like in export default trendline online status. So this is where you can basically perform this online debugging, the debugging for all the React hooks, whichever you're looking forward for. So this is very popular and utilized and useful option for the regular users.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.